Jazz 90.1 proudly welcomes you to America's longest-running computer show, Sound Bytes. Call the show now at 966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free 800-790-0415 or soundbytes.org. Now, alongside Steve Ray and Dave Enright, here's Nick Francesco on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. American, all the chips in the PC. It is Saturday, the 2nd of February, Anno Domini 2019, and you, you lucky people, you're listening to Sound Bytes. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 6 minutes after the hour, we're going to be bringing you news, views, things to choose, nothing to lose, kick off your shoes, don't get the blues. Here comes the news.
Apparently, Puxatawny Phil predicted a quick spring. But he's usually wrong.
Yeah, there's that. And if that little stinking rodent lion us, I'm going to go find him.
Well, actually, apparently, I read there's another groundhog in Buffalo that makes predictions, but he's not as big as the one in Puxatawny, or not as well known.
So he's younger? Oh, I see.
Yeah, he's not as big either.
Right. All right, in general, Microsoft's January patches look relatively benign, but for some folks, in some situations, they can bite hard. On the surface, we've seen the usual Patch Tuesday cumulative updates and secondary cumulative updates for all versions of Windows 10. Microsoft calls the secondary cumulative updates optional because you only get them if you click check for updates. Windows 7 and 8.1 got their usual monthly roll-ups, but there's a problem. Specifically, this month's Windows 7 monthly roll-up has a couple of bugs that are only fixed if you install the preview of February's monthly roll-up.
Really?
Which makes no sense at all, but that's Microsoft. There's another Windows 7 monthly roll-up bug that's fixed by installing a different Silver Bullet patch. A Windows 10 version 1809.net patch rolled out as a preview when it wasn't. Some folks woke up one morning to a notification that their PCs were no longer activated. That was a bug on Microsoft's side. Oops. Office 2010 took one on the chin, too, actually, and it looks like the Japanese calendar problem's still there, with fixes, in quotes, bringing Word, Excel, and Access to a halt. And then there's a reprisal or a reprisal, if you prefer, of the mysterious KB 4023057 update reliability patch, throwing an error on some machines. Now, in its 50th or so incarnation, that knowledge base article 4023057, the update reliability improvement, rolled out to pretty much every Windows 10 version, 1507, 1511, 1607, 1703, 1709, and 1803. Microsoft still hasn't said what that KB actually does, and the KB article is a baffling bit of pablum. Speculation is that KB blasts away any impediments you've set to the automatic installer, because Microsoft isn't interested in you installing stuff when you want to. They want you to install stuff when they want you to.
Especially because it all works so well.
So well. Patch Tuesday, yeah, exactly. Patch Tuesday also brought KB 4461614, an Office 2010 security update. Unfortunately, as soon as you install that patch, Access and Excel stop working. 10 days later, Microsoft issued a replacement. Now we see notices that replacement breaks Office 2010 entirely on Windows XP machines. Of course, if you're still running XP, you have worse things to worry about. Anyway, our poll of the week at soundbytes.org, that's Bytes with a Y, Francis would like us to remind you, is how did patching Windows go for you in January? And your choices are great, no problems. Pretty well, not great, bricked my computer, and Windows patching. So far, 28 of you have voted, and just a few of you had some problems. One person had their computer bricked. But I know you'll have more to say about this, because this is one of those annoying, stinking things. So if you scroll down on the right under Fascinating Stuff, you'll find the forums. The second forum down is the poll discussion. And currently, at least, the #1 item under polls discussion is to February 19. How did patching Windows go for you in January? 2 posts so far. So join us there. And then, of course, also join us here. Give us a call at 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Or toll free at 790-0415. And just as a reminder, you can always find those phone numbers on our website at soundbytes.org. That's Bytes with a Y, Francis would like us to remind you. Microsoft has had 6 months, 8 months of problems with updates. And this comes at a time when they're about to announce that they are going to make Windows a subscription-only service.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
So they're and that may be the only reason they haven't done it yet. Honestly,
If you can't, if they can't get the things working right, people aren't going to want to keep paying for it.
Well,
in
and if
fact,
people
right now,
are paying for it, they'll sue.
Right, and right now, most people try to turn off their updates because there's so many problems with them.
Right, and like I said, one of the updates that we all believe is to stop you from being able to stop the updates.
Yeah, it was they got into so much trouble for that on the Windows 10 upgrade notice from earlier Windows when you said no and it installed anyway. They apparently they don't care.
They don't care.
They didn't learn
really
their lesson.
Don't care.
It's easier to apologize than it is to do it the way other people want.
Right. Well, and more importantly, on top of all of that, there's the fact that they really want people to be buying this as a subscription, and the only way that works is if they control your updates.
Well, that's why, I got a Windows 7 machine. It's not on the internet. It does the programs that I want it to do, and I use my Chromebook.
And that's
all happy.
Look, I've been using Linux for 20 plus years now, and I've never had a bad update. I've never had. Well, that's not true. Once or twice a program has some features I don't particularly care for. But
that's not an update that went bad. That's a feature you didn't like.
That's a feature that I didn't like.
Yeah, something else.
Updating Linux is so simple. I've got it set to tell me that there's an update available. I could have it update in the background, do it all by itself, but I have it tell me, and then I look at them and I say, okay, I want that. And boom, they come down, and I don't have to reboot, and I don't even have to stop working. The only time I have an issue in that regard is if they're updating, for example, Chrome, and I'm doing something in Chrome. Then I have to shut Chrome down in order to have it updated. Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I rarely reboot my machine. I never have problems with my updates. Same thing with my Chromebook. It updates in the background. I get a little notice in the corner that says restart your machine. You've got a new version of Chrome. And I restart. And I don't have to. If I don't want to, I can keep on working. I can work for hours. I can work for days. If I don't shut the machine down and restart it, it doesn't update. And when it does, it updates fine.
My wife has the Windows 10 machine. Yeah. I got her a laptop. And that version 10 on there versus her old one, which had 7, it seems with these updates, it's taking a little bit longer to load stuff and do stuff. Like when she first starts it up or goes into the browser before Windows 7, bam, pops right in. Now it's got to stop and think and chug, and it's like,
well, I suspect there's just a bunch of garbage
what's
in
going
in the registry.
Is it a quad i7 with 16 gigs of RAM?
No.
On an SSD?
Right, because if it's not, that's not Microsoft's test platform.
Yeah. I should have said i9 then. Yeah.
Right. That is also part of the issue, of course. The fact that, honestly, everybody at Microsoft has gigantic machines, and they're not testing it on the 2 gig or 4 gig machines.
Even 8 gig is still
right.
The 199 warehouse special.
Yeah.
Right. Those are just not usable machines. I hear it all the time. My machine is so slow. What's your specs? Oh, I've got 2 gigs of RAM.
No.
I don't even need to hear what processor you have. You've got 2 gigs of RAM. That's a problem.
I say minimum 8.
Right.
And then start going up.
Right. And a minimum these days of an i3. Maybe an i5.
5, yeah. I'd say 5.
I wouldn't go less.
Well, the problem is that there's low-end fives that they try to put
Right.
in the cheap machines, and then there's good i5s that are in the more expensive machines.
Right, that's very true.
Yeah, it's sort of like the old days. Remember they had, what was it? Celeron chips versus
Yeah.
regular chips.
So you probably want to spend at least $500 for
Easy.
for a Windows
Yep.
machine, at least, and lean more toward $1,000 if you want to do more than check your email.
Yeah, and you got to have a decent graphics card in it.
Yep.
You know, I mean, don't get something on board that shares that memory because, yeah, you could get it loaded for bear with, say, 16 gig of memory, and if 8 of it's going to be taken with the onboard video,
Yep.
boom,
And-
you're
and-
going back down.
What gets confusing to a lot of people is the overlap between programs. Well, I'm just surfing web pages. Okay, you're playing games in Facebook. You've just added a comma.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So the average web surfing anymore, I'm just going to type a few letters in my word processor and then get your email and send photos and
And by the way, all those programs are running simultaneously.
Yep. Play games on Facebook and yep. So now you need a little more horsepower.
Yep.
Right. So I bought years ago when I thought I was going to be teaching a course in Visual Basic. I bought a laptop because I didn't have a Windows machine. I bought a laptop to run Windows. It was an Intel Core i5 with Windows 8 on it at the time, and I upgraded it to 10. And I got to be honest, it was slow. It has 8 gig of RAM. It has a Core i5. It's the 4210U. It's a pretty fast machine, 2.4 gigahertz, 2 cores, 4 threads. And had at the time a regular hard drive in it, but it was slow as dirt. Cheese and crackers, it was a dog. And when I found I wasn't going to teach that course, I threw Linux on it, and it flew. And then, of course, I put an SSD card in it, and it really flew. But I'm just as happy to have 0 Windows products.
Mm-hmm.
I truly.
But I bet
am.
Microsoft still calls you when you have trouble.
They call me all the time. They
Give you
send
the
me-
warnings that your machine's infected.
I get warnings that my machine is infected. I get warnings on my phone that Microsoft has detected a problem with my computer.
Because they really want to get a hold of you.
They really do. They really, really do.
It just shows how dedicated they are.
Yeah,
Yep.
they just want to
God
solve
bless
all
them.
your issues.
Yep. God
They're
bless every
there
one of
for
them.
you.
Yep. They're
If
there
you pay
for
the
me.
right price.
They are there for me.
I had to install Windows 95 this week,
Huh?
and I was trying to remember.
Was there a gun to your head?
Yes.
Yeah, really.
Yes, it was. It was a large mechanical machine, and the software they have only runs under 95.
Did you have to do it off of floppies?
No, she found the CD. Thank
Oh,
God.
thank goodness.
Yeah,
I
no
mean,
kidding.
So
otherwise,
first she brings in a stack of floppies,
Yeah.
and that turns out it's only the drivers.
Yeah.
No, I need the actual Windows 95 disk, and fortunately it was a CD.
That saved her
Yep.
about 3 days worth of.
yeah.
But
So
yeah,
they're
they-
feeding one disc after the
Yep.
other.
They have this industrial machine that only runs on 95 and would cost too much to replace.
I would have gotten another, once you got that loaded, I would have turned around, grabbed another hard drive, cloned it,
Yeah, that's what we're planning on
and
doing.
store that away in a safe or anything else. That way, if that dies, you can just quick.
I kind of want to try, like Windows 7 compatibility mode or even Windows 10 compatibility mode on this ancient Windows 95 program.
7 might do it. 7 was very good about when Microsoft was
It
somewhat
depends on the drivers.
was decent. That's where I was
Yeah.
just going to go. Was decent as far as taking old software for the most part and saying, yeah, fake it out and pretend it's Windows 95 or even Windows 3.1 and that. But yeah, like you said though, some of the drivers in there could mess it up.
It's a Pentium at 200 megahertz
Mm-hmm.
with 32 megs of RAM. Can I put Windows 10 on that?
32 megs of RAM.
Yeah,
Megs.
megs.
No.
Well, no, wait a minute. Yes, you could put it on.
32,000.
Do you want it to run? No, it'll just sit there.
I almost want to run the installer just to see what it says.
Well, it probably won't.
It'll come up and say, "Are you kidding? Seriously?"
Yeah.
It'll probably sit there. What drugs are you on?
Right. Now, have you tried putting it on a VM?
Yeah, that was going to be a suggestion too, but they want this computer working.
Of course they do.
Oh, and so they bring the computer in first, and so my first problem was it's an AT keyboard and a serial mouse. So then they had to bring that in, and then I needed the floppy disk drivers and the CD. So I'm shocked that they found everything because they've had this since probably '95.
Right. It says something for their organizational skills.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's an ancient machine that just won't work on a newer OS and costs too much to replace.
Yeah, I know, I get it. Okay, back to the phone. To the phones. Our first caller is Rich from Arundecoit, New York. Hi, Rich. What's up?
Hi, guys. Just listening to you talk about these Windows updates and things like that, and I'm not really sure that my machine is updating. And at one point when I did update, it took out my network cards.
Yeah.
And didn't allow me to get on the Internet again without going back. Do you know if that problem maybe has been fixed?
Well, theoretically, yes.
Can you tell me maybe how, I hate to sound ignorant about this, but how to find out whether or not my machine is really updating?
Well, what you can do is go into Settings. You open your Start menu and go into Settings.
Okay.
There's a choice for Update and Security Settings, and inside that, down on the left, you'll see a bunch of things. And the top one is Windows Update. And you click on that, and it'll come up and say Windows Update. It should say your device is up to date, last checked whenever.
Okay.
And if whenever is a while ago,
of, like the numbers on the updates, and we're at update number 762149.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about that. If you go into security, update and security, look at the Windows Update page, and it will say Windows Update, and it'll either say your device is up to date or whatever, and then underneath it is a button that says check for updates.
Okay.
And if you even if it says it's up to date, click on the button and see what happens.
Okay. Now, as far as that other problem goes, I guess if I get an update and it happens again, I can roll back and get the Internet back.
Well, generally, yes. If you are within, I think, 7 or 10 days, they let you roll back.
Okay.
But it also makes it more important to have a backup of all your data in case the update really kills your computer and you have to reinstall everything.
Right.
Yeah,
Always have a
that
backup.
I do very regularly.
Right.
I update, and if I've made a change or something like that, I do try to keep up with the updates and things like that. That not keeping current files on my laptop so that again, something happens, I've got it somewhere else.
Good.
Stuff like that. So, and I don't know if you've heard anything more about those network card being taken out or not recognizing. I mean, the machine I have is not that old. I mean, it's maybe 2 years old, if that.
No, that was one of the problems. That was one of the glitches in one of the updates, and theoretically, it's done.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll get lucky then, or it has. I mean, I've seen some things that say update and restart and all that kind of stuff, but again, not keeping track of it.
Right. Well, you can just go in, like I said, and look and see what it says, and it should say if it says your device is up to date, it will also say the last time it was checked.
Okay.
So if that's 2 months ago, hit the check for updates button. If it's a couple of days ago, you're good.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks for the information. Sounds good, and thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And it's a similar sort of thing in the Mac community. There's in the Apple menu, you have the App Store, which will check you for updates. One thing, though, that we see a little bit concerning, and Apple didn't learn the lesson that Microsoft got taught, that Apple's really pushing the upgrades to the next OS. So right now, Mojave is the current OS. And we are still hearing a lot of people running into performance issues. They install Mojave and things get slow. And so we still haven't really recommended Mojave unless you're one of those bleeding edge people, or your computer's only a year or two old. So, and that sort of goes with the same thing. Windows.
I was about to say, is it something to do with something you can fix, like the amount of RAM, or
well, even with 8 gigs of RAM and the i5 processors, but if the machine is 4, 5, 6 years old, which Mojave will still run on,
right?
I guess run well is the issue.
Right.
Yeah, and so in that update. It will also show you upgrades, and Apple is really pushing you to upgrade. So be careful if you see something that says upgrade to Mojave. I would say don't do that yet.
Unless you have a fairly new machine, and by that, less than a year.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
Yeah. That's frustrating, and that's what the Microsoft ran into when forcing people to upgrade from 7 to 10. Even if they clicked no on the upgrade box, it did it anyway.
Right. Right, and
there was a big battle on that because it was happening to people overnight. Because they leave their machine on all the time, like I do, and all of a sudden they woke up to the following morning, and it said Windows 10 installed failed. I had a number of folks call me about that one.
Yep, and Steve Gibson wrote his Never 10 program, so you can make sure that Windows 10 never installs. I'm trying to see. So they've had 2.9 million downloads, and he's still averaging about 400 downloads a day. That people are still trying to stop Windows 10 from installing on their computer.
Well, especially some of these updates, because, like I say, it's whatever they're doing to try to enhance their operating system, they're slowing it down. They're causing things to slow down and doing stuff. Forget it.
Yeah, we used to call that creeping featureitis. They have to add new features to incent you to buy the new version.
Right.
But now just fix the problems. Don't try to keep adding new things.
Well, but the issue becomes, particularly when we're looking at a subscription service.
Yeah.
They are even less incentivized to fix the problems.
Right. We have to sell new features to justify charging for the
subscription. How many new features can they really put?
Well, that's the problem the whole industry has right now.
Yeah.
You take a look at the only really new thing at CES was foldable displays. And they aren't really quite ready yet.
Yeah.
But that was the only new thing that people showed.
There's no ooh and ah factor out there to compel people to go out there and rush that I got to have this next best toy.
And I think that's part of why people are dissatisfied with Apple. Apple's stock has tanked. It's starting to come back. But the point is, when another year goes by that they don't announce the next new thing,
which is super instead of just a little bit better.
And it's not that Apple isn't making money. They aren't making as much money. And there's no new wow factor. And that's the thing that Apple has lived on for decades. And now that they don't have it, it's a problem for the short-term, short-sighted investor.
And that's what the stock market looks for is are you going to be better this quarter than you were last quarter?
Right, because it's not about what happens in 2 years. It's what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
And if yesterday was not good, I'm selling.
But tomorrow is going to be a whole lot better.
But tomorrow may be a whole lot better, and if so, I'll buy in tomorrow.
In a couple of years, it will be even better.
Yeah, I can't wait 2 years.
Yeah, I want my money now.
I want my money now. And a lot of those are the investors in Apple, and those are, that's Apple's customer. We keep saying Apple and Microsoft and Google and everybody else. You're not the customer. The shareholders are the customers. You're just the product they bring to the shareholders. And all right, we'll take a quick break and cut off my rant. We'll take a quick break. Back in just a couple of minutes with Dave Enright, Steve Ray, me, Nick Francesco, and you. It's 29 minutes after the hour. It's Sound Bytes. It's member-supported Jazz 90.1.
It's America's longest-running computer show. Back to more Sound Bytes with Nick, Dave, and Steve. Next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
The success of any business depends on its ability to offer value, a great quality product or service for the right price. Businesses themselves need to get value for the things they need as well. As an underwriter of Jazz 90.1, you can get the word out about your business, what you do, where you are, and how to reach you. Underwriting messages are straightforward, simple, and easy to remember. Underwriting at Jazz 90.1 is a great way to promote your business while supporting public jazz radio. For more information, call the Jazz 90.1 business office at 966-2660 today.
Howdy folks, this is Dan Gross. Listen to special rebroadcasts of my web series, the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight, the ROC's premier music and interview show, right here on member-supported Jazz 90.1. The show airs the first Saturday of each month at 9 p.m. and includes interviews and performances by some of Rochester's rising musical stars. To find out more information about the show and to watch the full-length video episodes, you can visit jazz901.org/programming.
Would you like to do something extra special for your sweetheart this Valentine's Day? You can win the Jazz 90.1 Ultimate Valentine's Day giveaway, including an overnight stay for two at the Hilton Garden Inn downtown, dinner at 80W, tickets to see the Humans at Jiva Theater, chocolate from Hedonist Artisan Chocolates, cocktails at Brass Bar and Lounge, and more. All you have to do to enter is email contests@jazz901.org. and tell us why you think your sweetheart deserves this great gift. Entries must be received by 11:59 p.m. on February 8th. Official WGMC contest rules apply. Good luck.
If you want to support Jazz 90.1 a lot, but your budget says only a little will work, there is a way. It's called the Jazz 90.1 Jazz-O-Matic membership. You can support Jazz 90.1 with a monthly gift of $10 or more, while enjoying the many great thank you gifts that we offer. Jazz 90.1 will deduct that amount automatically every month, and should your circumstances change, you can cancel at any time. Support Jazz 90.1 the way you want to, without bruising your budget, Jazz-O-Matically. For more information on becoming Jazz-O-Matic, call 966-5299 or pledge online at jazz901.org.
Are you a blind parent or interested in becoming a parent someday? The National Federation of the Blind knows that blind people are capable, loving parents. We are here to provide support, education, mentors, and other resources to help you be the best parent you can be. We know blindness need not hold you back. Get involved, share your stories, mentor others, or get support. Visit us at blindparents.org to learn more. National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.
If you love Big Band Friday on Jazz 90.1, you'll love Big Band Sunday on Jazz 90.1 Swing and Blues Radio. I'm Rob Linton.
And I'm Phil Dodd. Every Sunday afternoon, we play the best in big band music from artists like Count Basie, Glenn Miller, Buddy Rich, and more.
Round out your weekend with Big Band Sunday on Jazz 90.1 Swing and Blues Radio, our sister station devoted to bringing you great blues all week and big bands and swing and singers all weekend long.
You can listen to Jazz 90.1 Swing and Blues Radio online at jazz901.org and streaming on our free mobile app for your iPhone or Android device.
We keep the big band sound swinging every weekend, only on Jazz 90.1 Swing and Blues Radio.
Wow, X-ray specs. Remember ordering those? This is Sandra Singlow with the Lowdown on Science saying, yeah, mine didn't work either. But good news, kids. Researchers from MIT think they have a new way to see through walls. Dina Kotabi used radio waves to map people's locations. This method works like radar does. Radio waves bounce off objects and return to a detector. They can even pass through walls like Wi-Fi. So Kotabi could see where a person was, but nothing else. Enter artificial intelligence. The researchers used AI tools to recognize a person's pose in images. Then they showed the computer the corresponding radio waves. The computer learned to recognize positions like a high five simply from the radio signal. Next, the researchers gave the computer radio images of people behind walls. The computer could see exactly what they were doing. The researchers hope to use this technology in nursing homes. It could alert nurses if a patient falls. So move over, Superman. There's a new hero with RA Vision.
The Lowdown on Science is produced by LDOS Media Lab in partnership with the University of California Irvine Science Communications and 89.3 KPCC. On the web at LOHDOWNonscience.org.
Here's the latest Jazz 90.1 weather forecast. A perfect day for outdoor winter activities across Rochester, Western New York, and the Finger Lakes, albeit very cold to start. Temperatures will make a significant recovery this afternoon, topping out in the mid-30s. A little bit of sun early on will give way to increasing clouds and a stiffening breeze. Tonight looks mostly cloudy, the overnight low in the upper 20s. Tomorrow, breezy, milder, the high temperature in the mid-40s. Could see a little light wintry mix and then a few showers early in the day. I'm meteorologist Josh Nichols for Jazz 90.1.
And currently, right now, it's 32 degrees out at the airport and 34 here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Computer problems? Get answers from the experts. Sound Bytes, noon to 2 Saturdays, only on Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 36 minutes after the hour, we are Sound Bytes. And we have Mark from Greece, New York on the line. Hi, Mark. What's up?
Hey, guys. Two things. One thing, did any of you check out Valley of the Boom?
We were just talking about
that. Yeah. Yeah.
It was excellent.
Yes. And I'm trying to remember all the stuff that was happening at the time. I didn't remember the globe, but they were talking about GeoCities, and oh yeah, I remember them. And it's really well done, and I like how they cut away from the action to explain things to people who may not know.
Yes, it was excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, excellent. So, anyways, the second thing is I was going back to the gentleman that had the problem with the updates.
Yeah.
And he said he lost his internet.
Yeah.
I've noticed it's happened to me before, and I before I rolled it back, I just gone to my icon in the system tray and right-clicked on it and said troubleshoot. And 9 out of 10 times, it's fixed it. It's messed up a setting in there, or it's changed your IP address, and usually that will work.
Or a driver got messed up during the update. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
the big thing is that troubleshooting tip is a good one. Microsoft has a lot of troubleshooting choices, for various things, and it never hurts to run that. If the problem is it's killed your driver, that's a separate issue. But if it's not that, then yeah, troubleshooting might work. Good tip.
Unless, so it could maybe load the generic driver to get you
Maybe,
enough online
yeah.
to load the real driver. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know mine. It will sometimes IP address, and then it just screws everything up. So, but yeah, I have had luck with that.
It's a good point. Thank you.
So, yep. Okay, guys. Thank you.
Right. Almost everything under Windows has a choice of troubleshooting in the menu somewhere. And
we've sort of given up on it because it almost never works. But occasionally it does.
Can't hurt to try it.
Can't hurt to try, yeah. It just takes a little bit of time. And especially after an update where something may have changed a driver
right.
is an issue.
Right. And that's part of the issue. Now, we sound like we're banging on Windows on Microsoft. But the reality is that there's no two Windows machines that are alike. And the reality behind that is that Microsoft can't test every configuration. They simply cannot.
And there's millions of lines of code.
And there's millions. No human
literally
brain understands. Yeah, literally millions. No human brain understands anything more complex than a lever. So understanding millions upon millions upon millions of lines of code just isn't in the cards. So there's going to be glitches.
And every little module may work great by itself, but they might not interact properly. And then suddenly when it all gets together and you've got this collection of BIOS on this motherboard with this network card with this driver, something weird happens.
Right.
Yep. All right, we did have somebody text in and says, do you guys know of any free DLNA servers, Windows 7? Hopefully one of them that can use an existing Windows playlist. It seems my Windows Media Server tends to occasionally show no content on my Yamaha receiver. I troubleshot the network and all is fine. I tried the UMS, but didn't like that. Thanks.
Is it XBMC? DNI?
Yeah, I think it is. The DLN.
Plex. I was going through. I found a couple of articles on the best of DNLA server, which I always take with a grain of salt because how do you define best? But they do mention Plex, which is a very popular third-party media server that apparently also does DNLA. Which, so for those of you at home, let's define DNLA. Yeah.
Throwing terms around.
Yeah. Excuse me, I beg your pardon. DLNA is the Digital Living Network Alliance. It promotes a set of interoperability guidelines, and it's designed to share digital media among multimedia devices under a certification standard.
There's one from on SourceForge called Universal Media Server.
Right. So there's a bunch of them out there. The Digital Media Alliance, Digital Living Network Alliance. Excuse me.
This
Go
is
ahead.
probably the UMS he was talking about. Ultimate Media, Universal Media Server, UMS.
Right, but there's a bunch of them that exist, and there are DLNA certified devices. There's about 25,000 of them out on the market. There are various DLNA certified software.
Servio with two I's.
Who?
Servio, Serviio.
Yep.
Is one. Plex is another one that has been used for media servers for a long time.
AllShare, CyberLink, JRiver certainly. Nero has a media home. I think it's called Nero Home Media or Nero Media Home or something. Plex, like you mentioned. TV Mobily, Twonky Media. So there's lots and lots and lots of them.
And since they're free, you can try them all and see which one works best for you.
Right, and if you were to go to Wikipedia and search for DLNA or Digital Living Network Alliance, and scroll way down, you would see that list of software. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there's the list of software, and it's Nero Media Home. And it should give you what you want. And in support of that, we have Bob calling in from Henrietta about DLNA. Hi, Bob. What's up?
Well, it might be another way to do it. I've got an Onkyo receiver that can see Windows file share. So if he puts his media library into like a shared directory, I can browse mine with the receiver itself.
So it probably has DLNA built into it.
And specific
and Windows file and printer sharing. Yeah.
Well, but DLNA goes beyond file sharing in that it also works with various media players and things like that. So you don't have to search for a song. You can use the DLNA server to serve your media to you.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Plex is the best choice, but if that's not an option for him for some reason.
Right. Yeah,
just a suggestion.
No, it's a good suggestion. It's pretty good. Plex, by the way, the thing that we're talking about is the Plex, Plex media server. It's a back-end media server component of a whole set of Plex software suite, but the media server is really the thing that does DLNA.
And so basically what people like doing is they put all their media on one computer, movies, music, TV shows, basically CDs and DVDs, rip them all onto one computer. And then from your computer or your television or your tablet or anywhere else in your house, you can watch any of that stuff from that one server.
Right. And all it really needs is a fairly decent machine with a decent amount of RAM and a gigantic hard drive.
Apparently Tidal bought Plex.
Oh, no kidding.
I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, I don't know what I do either. But at any rate, so it's a pretty nice deal if you're into that sort of thing. Plex is a pretty decent one to try. It is a server. It runs on pretty much every operating system you can find. You can also get, I believe, you used to at least be able to get hard drives with Plex installed already.
Yeah, NAS with Plex already built in.
Right.
It may not be that Tidal bought Plex. Tidal is using Plex for streaming. So I went to Plex.tv as their website, and this big thing came up: subscribe to Tidal. No, I don't want to.
Right.
But then I found the close button, and now I can get into the real Plex stuff.
And it's freemium, which means a certain amount of it is free, and then if you want extra add-ons, you pay.
Yep.
But it's a pretty.
You don't
cool
get
thing.
all the bells and whistles.
Right. But in general, something like Plex, some DLNA server, probably is the thing you want if you've got massive amounts of media in multiple categories. Music, video, etc. That you really want to be able to stream to any one of your devices, anywhere in your home at any time. Having some sort of DLNA server facilitates that nicely, actually. Yeah. And if you're going to do it over the internet, I don't know. I've never really looked into that. I know you can do it with things like ICE server and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can do it with a DLNA server.
It looks like Plex has also added TV streaming to go along with like Hulu TV, YouTube TV, Sling TV. Now Plex TV is commercial broadcast television streaming.
Well, they got people from the XBMC team, the Cody people. They got a bunch of people from that. Working on it, yeah. So I'm sure that they're doing more and more of that sort of stuff. And there's a web app, so you can browse your library, and all of that stuff is doable through this Plex thing. And there are a bunch of player apps for various products. Amazon Fire TV and Android and Apple TV and Roku. Chromecast and iOS and Roku and Samsung and TiVo and Vizio and
in talking with that line though, it's interesting if folks don't know it right now. The FCC and them are still trying to defend net neutrality.
Yeah. We were talking about that before the show.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big fight on there, folks, because Verizon and another bunch of other companies that were big opponents of doing away with net neutrality.
Well, they're not opponents of doing away. They're opponents of net neutrality.
Yeah.
They want to do away with
They
it.
want no regulations, so they can charge you as much as they can.
That's exactly right.
And they more or less shot themselves in the foot, not one foot, but both, when they got in trouble with the California there during the fires and throttling back services there during an emergency.
They were throttling services to the firefighters.
Yeah.
Probably not the thing you want to do during the largest wildfire in California's history.
Yeah. And they're having issues because, they throttled them back.
Yeah, my favorite is yesterday the FCC was actually trying to convince the Supreme Court that broadband is not telecommunications.
3 judges are going to be
crackers
trying to decide this right now.
And as much as we laugh at the Ludditism of the Supreme Court, those 3 judges weren't buying it.
No, they
were not buying it. They were saying, broadband pretty much is telecommunication.
Yeah, I don't know how they don't consider it.
Well, they don't want to consider it because they would then not be able to charge whatever they want. They would still be under rules, and they don't like the rules.
Well, it doesn't go over telephone wires anymore, so it's not telecommunications.
Get out. Get out now.
Yeah, but the FCC still controls like ham radio and everything else.
Television doesn't go over the telephone wires.
It's television.
Telekinesis doesn't go over the telephone. When the Greeks invented the word tele, they didn't have telephones.
Yeah.
But this is going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, as far as us and the future of internet. Because we've said for a long time, it's pretty sad that, here, third world countries have faster and cheaper internet service than we do.
Yep.
It is pretty pathetic.
Yep. And it's a very tricky thing. I mean, economics are not easy. There's no silver bullet instant solution to it. We were the first country to have that stuff, so much of our infrastructure is ancient, and to replace it would cost a great deal of money. And companies are reluctant to spend that money when people are cutting the cord and not getting telephone service and et cetera, et cetera.
And there's so much rural area that it takes a lot of money to run wires. So now the latest thing I'm hearing, is 5G will solve everything because it's faster than your wired internet. Yeah, but you need a 5G tower every 200 feet.
Not only that, they just discovered a hole in 5G, a security problem that lets anybody eavesdrop anytime. Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But and they said the same thing about 4G. 4G so great. We won't need wires anymore.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
My in-laws live on a horse farm, and they use MiFi, whatever it's called. Yeah,
cellular wireless,
internet. And it's not fast, and it's not cheap.
Yeah,
it is not cheap. So when the FCC says, they can just get cellular service, they can get it, but they may not be able to afford it. And also, it's slow.
Yeah.
It's ludicrously slow.
10 to
now,
15.
yes, I'm used to green light. I get that. But it's ludicrously slow.
And, well, that's one thing, though, for Rochester. I mean, it's going to take some time. But, I mean, Galisano is putting a lot into, right now, expanding green light through the Rochester area that Spectrum and the rest of these companies better be afraid.
Well, they are a little bit because Spectrum raised their speeds to 100, and you can get 500 if you pay through the nose, but now the standard Spectrum speed is 100. So Greenlight said, all right, we'll make our standard speed 500.
500, yeah.
500 for 50.
Yeah, so it's
$50
$50
a month.
Yeah. And I mean,
And what I'm seeing, I have friends who are in the real estate business, and they're saying one of the things people are demanding now is, asking is, does this property have green light?
Yeah.
Because that's on my list. I want a 2-car garage or whatever. And now one of the things they're asking for is, do you have green light?
Well, all new homes nowadays, part of the specs and wiring, a friend of mine that was telling me for most of the wiring now in houses, not only are they running just a regular, 14 and 12 2-wire, they're also running coax for to network the whole house, every room, and to put in for sound systems.
A lot of I always remember a few years ago. There's the outlets are never on the right wall when you're trying to set up your room.
Correct.
So I was going to put a 6-gang electrical outlet and 2 coax on every wall of every room when I build my house.
Yeah.
And then
also I'm going to put them up where I don't have to
behind, not on the floor.
Get on the floor behind stuff.
Yep. And then I added Cat 6 to my plan too. Don't need coax anymore. Just need that once, but Cat 6 everywhere.
Right.
But that's just becoming the standard. I mean, in most new homes, and it's sweet.
Yeah. All right, back to the phones. It's Bob from Henrietta again, I think. Is it the same Bob?
Yes, it is. One other suggestion for the guy: eliminate the word wireless from your vocabulary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wireless is...
I actually do this in my own home. That's why I'm familiar with it. I've got gigabit Ethernet strung throughout the house, server in the basement, play whatever I want on any device with no problem.
Well, wireless is certainly convenient, but
it sucks.
Ethernet wire is much faster, much more efficient. It doesn't split the way that wireless does when you have 2 people streaming different things in the same room.
And there's no collision, and there's no why is my wireless so slow? Oh wait, there's a cold air duct in between me and the router, and that's cutting off a big piece of the signal. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Bob. Doing it over wireless certainly will work, but for audio, it's not really a problem.
It maybe will work.
Yeah.
Yeah. For audio, it's not as big a problem.
No, but for streaming media like movies, TV,
and then you buy those cheap
movies and TV,
$30 big box Wi-Fi routers.
Right.
I got a Linux box that goes to a Unify access point.
Yeah. Even so, you're having problems with wireless for video. Yeah, I get it.
Well, I don't use that for the streaming stuff. Is either Ethernet receiver is wired, Roku boxes are all on wired connections, and it works great.
Yep. Yep.
The TV watching bit, if you have a Plex lifetime membership, which is not all that expensive, you can throw a tuner card into your server box. Then you can tune whatever local channels you can get, record, just like any kind of DVR. The Roku box interface is kind of clunky. I don't like that. But the web interface and the one for the iPhone is pretty good.
Yeah.
And you can actually play it on your TV by controlling it by your iPhone.
Right.
But it's a very nice setup if you want to cut the cable. That's what, in fact, a couple of weeks ago, I had actually called you wondering if you had heard of any alternate interface for the Roku boxes, because the guide interface and so forth on a Roku is not all that good. I will admit that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, and I haven't tried them all. Dave may have tried more than I have, but I haven't tried them. By the way, for people who are more into open source stuff, there's a thing called EMBY, EMBY, that is a mostly open source version of Plex. There are still some proprietary packages. That's a given for that sort of thing, but it's there.
Yeah, but I cut the cord. I with the TV tuner in the server box, I get 28 channels here plus Sling for the cable stuff. I'm happy.
It works.
Yep.
And it works for a lot of people. You have to make a small change in the way you watch television and the way you maybe, creating a DVR for yourself or whatever that may be. So you're changing your habits a little bit, but you're certainly the cost offset.
It's saving me roughly $100 a month.
Yeah. That ain't...
That ain't chump change.
Yeah, exactly.
The big thing that we tell our customers is you have to stop thinking of channel numbers, because that's a cable thing. You need to know the network name, and because every other streaming service goes by the network name.
And I only lost one channel that I regularly watched. And I can get that if I want to pay somebody for it.
Right. Yes, and that's the thing. Nobody offers everything, but you can if you're willing to pay a little bit. And people say, I don't want to pay. Well, you just saved $300 a month on your cable bill. You could pay $5 a month for this other channel.
Yeah, I pay $40 for the Sling subscription.
Yeah.
But still, the overall cost per month is down $100.
Yeah, and the Sling is nice thing about it too is if you're into baseball, you can start that service up for the few months of baseball and then turn it off, and it's usually $5-10 more just to get the sports package, or they've got other packages that you can add and remove.
Now we're moving into March Madness. I was at a customer's house the other day where the ACC is has its own app out, so you can watch all the college games. There's a March Madness app to watch the college games, but it still seemed like some of them you had to pay for and some of them were free.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing with streaming. Even on the same network, some shows you pay for and some shows are free. And even on a free show, if you want, like last season, you may have to pay. And that discontinuity is the confusion.
Right.
Well, we all know what the music means, so I'm going to say goodbye.
All right, thanks. Thank you for all of that. We appreciate it, Bob. Bob is right. That music means that you've wasted an entire hour of your life with this nonsense. Don't go away, though. We're back for a whole nother hour of this, whether we or you like it or not. So take a quick bio break and come back to join Dave Enright, Steve Ray, me, Nick Francesco, and all of you. It is 59 minutes after the hour, and you're listening to the longest-running computer show in the known universe. It's Sound Bites right here on the Truly Great, and truly grateful to you that we can continue with your generosity to be member-supported. Jazz 90.1. We will see you on the other side.
Computer talk you can understand. More Sound Bites is next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
WGMC Greece Rochester. A public service of the Greece Central School District. Jazz 90.1.
On Twitter at 901 Jazz. Russia is accusing the Trump administration of undermining global security by ending compliance with the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. And now, a day after the U.S. said it would stop observing the pact, Vladimir Putin says Russia will suspend its participation in the landmark arms control agreement. After first apologizing, Virginia's governor is now reportedly questioning whether he was in a racist yearbook photo from med school. A source inside Virginia's Democratic Party says Ralph Northam has no immediate plans to resign.
This all comes after really a whirlwind 24 hours here in Richmond, where Northam is on incredibly shaky ground because he has lost the support not only of Democrats in the House and Senate here in Virginia, but now just this morning he lost the support of his own party.
Correspondent Dan Marica. A powerful storm sweeping California is prompting flash flood watches, mudslide warnings, and evacuations in the areas stripped bare by wildfire. I'm Jan Johnson.
Here's another I Love New York travel tip.
The I Love New York app has brought thousands of New York State attractions, events, campgrounds, parks, restaurants, wineries, breweries, and more to travelers. And now it just got even better. With the app's Discover New York feature, just swipe attractions right to show interest and left to skip them. Based on your choices, the app matches you with additional attractions in New York State that you might enjoy. There are also cool new virtual reality features that let you ride a mountain coaster and see New York from a hot air balloon. Also new to the app are helpful guides to inspire your travels. Download the app now by visiting iloveny.com/mobile. That's iloveny.com/mobile. Amazing adventures at your fingertips. Find what you love in New York State.
Pain or no pain, your wisdom teeth should be checked every year. Some wisdom teeth can become impacted, which can lead to cysts, tooth decay, and gum disease. Wisdom teeth can cause crowding, painfully damaging adjacent teeth. Not all wisdom teeth need to be removed, but they all do need to be monitored by an oral and maxillofacial surgeon. Find a surgeon near you for a complete examination at myoms.org.
You already know it's smart to listen to Jazz 90.1. And now you can listen to Jazz 90.1 on smart devices, such as your Amazon Echo. Just say, Alexa, play Jazz 90.1, and she will.
90.1, Jazz 90.1, WGMC from TuneIn.
To learn more, visit jazz901.org.
I got smart about mortgages. Now it's my house I go home to.
I got smart about credit cards. Now paper or plastic has a whole new meaning.
When it comes to your money, whatever you want to get smart about, you can find it at smartaboutmoney.org. Smartaboutmoney.org is a free online resource from the National Endowment for Financial Education. We're an independent nonprofit foundation dedicated to helping people just like you get sound information about money. Smartaboutmoney.org. It's the easy place to start when you want to get smart.
You're invited to a party. Come join Jazz 90.1 as we celebrate Mardi Gras on Saturday, March 9th at 7 p.m. at Barnard Restaurant and Party House in Greece. Steve Grills and the Roadmasters and Hannah and the Blue Hearts will perform as we salute New Orleans, the birthplace of jazz. Admission is $35 per person and includes a New Orleans-themed dinner, a cash bar, giveaways, and more. Proceeds benefit Jazz 90.1. Only a limited number of tickets are available, and they're on sale now at jazz901.org. Get yours before this event sells out. We hope to see you there. Would you like to do something extra special for your sweetheart this Valentine's Day? You can win the Jazz 90.1 Ultimate Valentine's Day giveaway, including an overnight stay for two at the Hilton Garden Inn downtown, dinner at 80W, tickets to see The Humans at Jiva Theater, chocolate from Hedonist Artisan Chocolates, cocktails at Brass Bar and Lounge, and more. All you have to do to enter is email contests@jazz901.org and tell us why you think your sweetheart deserves this great gift. Entries must be received by 11:59 p.m. on February 8th. Official WGMC contest rules apply. Good luck.
Welcome back to America's longest-running computer show, Sound Bytes, on member-supported Jazz 90.1. Get online now. Call 966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll-free 800-790-0415. Or submit your question by email at soundbytes.org. Once again, here's Nick Francesco, Dave Enright, and Steve Ray on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm still Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
Cheese and crackers, nothing changes.
No,
and at 5 minutes after the hour, we're still Sound Bytes. And you can, of course, give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299, toll free, 1-800-790-0415. You can also catch us on by text message. The problem with that, we just had a text come in just a minute ago, didn't we? And what does it say?
Oh, he was asking about his playlist.
Right. The problem is we can't. That number, by the way, the text number is also on our website. It's 585-209-9010. The problem is we don't know what your playlist is.
Right. We need to talk to you to get a little more information. Too much to do over texting.
Yeah. Without the appropriate amount of information, there's not much we can do to answer your question.
But before you go to the next news article, though, continuing on with the green light.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to give Gallisano big kudos up. That one.
And Mark has done an amazing job keeping that system running.
Well, this is the whole thing. I mean, slap him. I mean, to take on a company like Spectrum and that, and try to improve the internet service, because he's a visionary, that he sees that this is the way folks are going to go. We're not tied to we're not tied to the phone lines at home. You don't have to wait to say until I get home I'll call you that. You can do it now anywhere because you've got a device in your hands. Same with now the internet. You go anywhere, the internet is there. Right. And not to be able to take advantage of the speeds and everything else. Plus, he's also building up the resources as far as people getting jobs.
Right.
So it's a win-win all the way around. It's good for our economy because he's putting people to work. And, constantly, each week, it seems, or every other week, it seems like he's expanding one more area, and constantly
having the ability to get super fast speed, broadband speed, brings businesses to the area.
Yep.
Brings other businesses to the area. All right. This is a great story. The iPhone could be an eavesdropping device. Watch out. It can happen. On Monday, Twitter and other social networking sites lit up with anxious Apple users after the news site 9to5Mac reported on a strange glitch in the company's iPhones. The issue, it turns out that iPhone users can call another iPhone user and listen in on that person's conversation through the device's microphone, even if the recipient does not answer the call. The bug could also give a caller access to a live feed of the recipient's camera. On Monday night, Apple said that it had disabled group FaceTime, the feature that caused the glitch. The glitch was embarrassing for Apple, which had to follow up by reporting disappointing financial earnings on Tuesday. Apple has long positioned itself as a protector of user privacy, offering more secure devices than its rivals. The glitch has already spurred warnings from officials. In a statement issued last Monday, Governor Andrew M. Cuomo of New York urged FaceTime users to temporarily disable the app. The FaceTime bug is an egregious breach of privacy that puts New Yorkers at risk, he said. How to handle this? Until the fix is released, and Apple says this coming week, iPhone users should go into the phone settings and disable FaceTime. Start by opening the Settings app, then tap FaceTime and toggle off FaceTime. So, how much do you FaceTime? Did I say FaceTime enough?
Yeah.
Give us a call, but not on FaceTime. 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Or toll free at 1-800-790-0415.
They've also disabled group FaceTime from their end so that it minimizes this issue. It's just the auto answer feature.
Yeah,
no.
basically. Yeah. Well, the problem is, of course, my phone rings. I'm sitting here talking to you.
Yeah.
My phone rings, and I look at it and I go, it's that moron Enright. I guess I better talk to him. Meanwhile, the moron Enright hears that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Or with the phone, you're sitting there naked,
Yep.
and the phone rings, and you think, okay, I'll throw on a towel and answer the phone. Too late.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting how they were able to find the problem. So you start a FaceTime call with someone.
Right.
And then you add yourself to the call.
Right.
And you say answer.
Right.
And it accidentally answers the other person, too.
Right. It answers everybody. Everybody on the call gets answered.
Right. And so that's why by disabling group FaceTime functionality, it's been
right.
Minimized.
So it's just a glitch, but it comes the day before a really disappointing financial call for
One
them.
more thing to throw in their side is an owie.
And they've touted themselves as the security mavens for decades, and so this is a bigger issue than it might. It seems to be a bigger issue than it maybe really is,
And they still made $84 billion in the quarter.
Yeah, but that's all they made.
But it was 5%.
Yeah.
It was 5% down, and so
Right.
that's why the stock market went.
I feel for it, but I'm sitting.
And almost any company that made $84 billion. I said this last week.
That's $1 billion a day.
That's what I said last week. It's 84. It's more than that.
Yeah.
$84 billion in a quarter. In 3 months, any other company would be dancing naked in the streets, popping champagne bottles for that much money.
Yeah, really.
Because Apple missed their projection by 5%, which is $4 million.
Oh.
People are panicking. Cheese and crackers, get a grip.
Get a life.
But, Apple is horrible. They're down. It's the demise of Apple. Apple is done. How many times if I had a nickel, I'd own Apple.
You'd be rich, yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so, don't get that excited. Yes, the investors are screaming gloom and doom, but there's something every Economics 101 major understands, and the rest of us need to learn. The stock market is not the economy.
Right.
In terms of all the other economic factors, Apple's doing just fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they're not going to be closing the doors down tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe not even the day after, maybe.
Yeah, they might even go a whole week.
Holy cow, don't get crazy.
Hey, we just got a real hot news story come in.
Yeah?
Dunkirk Dave agrees with Puxatawny Phil.
Dunkirk Dave!
Nice.
All right, Dave. If these rodents are lying to me, it's going to be groundhog cutlets come March 1st. I'm telling you right now.
All right, we got a few more questions here. Hey, guys, love the show. My question is, I want to learn Linux inside and out. Is there a book or online tutorial you could recommend? Thanks. Jim in Philadelphia.
Isn't there a book called Linux Inside and Out?
There probably is.
Yeah, here it is.
There it is. There's a book called Linux Inside and Out. There's a bunch of places you can go to get Linux help. Certainly, there's online things. You can if you okay. There's a whole website called linuxcommand.org, which has a series of lessons available on it. Those other places that have places. There's an online company called Mastermind Lounge. They've got a guy teaching Linux on that who's I got to tell you, I respect him highly. He's a well-known guy. He's been using Linux for over 20 years. He hosts a radio show.
Don't know.
It's me. It's me.
Really?
Yeah, that's at mastermindlounge.com. But there's
the
just
suspense.
There's a bunch of places online that you can learn Linux, and it's easy. It's okay. It's easy to find those places. I certainly would recommend my services, but the reality is that it's like learning any other operating system. It can be a long time before you learn everything, and you need to have a Linux machine handy to practice on
and patience.
And patience. So
That's the biggest thing.
My suggestion is before you do something like sign up for my classes at Mastermind Lounge or whatever, you want to go to download a version of Linux and either install it on an old machine or as a VM on your main machine so that you're ready to practice. That's an important part of it. You can't, it's like saying to somebody, I'm going to teach you how to program in Visual Basic, but you don't need a Visual Basic system to run anything. Just keep it in your head. Doesn't work. You need to be able to hands-on stuff. And
well, that sticks. It's been proven. That sticks with you so much better than, sitting there reading book after book after book or listening to lectures. If you could actually do it and get your feet wet, actually playing around, making the mistakes. And that's where I say patience ties into, like with just Linux or any other system that you're trying to learn. You've got to have patience and go in with the fact that you're going to make mistakes and learn from them.
That's exactly right.
And a lot of times the first lesson on a lot of those tutorials and videos is how to install Linux.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it becomes a series of tutorials, how to install it, how to run the command line,
how to update it,
and of course it also depends on which version of Linux you're running and what because there's the Debian flavors of Linux, there's the Ubuntu flavors of Linux, there's the Mint flavors of Linux, and on top of that there are the various different front ends: GNOME, KDE, XDCE, LXDE, etc., etc.
Well, let me just throw this at you then. All right. As with this gentleman in Philadelphia, if he's going to start out, right from scratch and be the simplest, what would you recommend going in not knowing anything?
What people are finding right now, at least, is that Linux Mint is one of the easiest versions of Linux distributions to run. So Linux Mint and here's a shock, linuxmint.com is a very easy to use version of Linux, and the reason is that it in some ways mimics Windows.
Okay.
So if you're used to Windows, you get the menu in the lower left corner and et cetera, right? So the visual end is very similar.
Okay.
You can get versions of Linux, starts with an E, Essential? I don't think that's it. Anyway, that mimic the Macintosh OS.
All right, let me just back up 1 second, though. You're saying the Mint. What would you say as far as system requirements? Because that kind of goes together.
That's a very good question. In terms of that,
I don't want a dog slow, but I don't have to have something that's going to set a house on fire.
Right. So again, everybody says at least 2 gigs of RAM. I would say 4 would probably be better, and a fairly decent an i3 processor. And a decent graphics card. Depends on how much graphics you want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can go all the way up to the very high-end NVIDIA, yada, yadas.
Yeah.
But if all you're really mainly doing is the average stuff the average person does, you only need an average system.
Okay.
And a lot of times it can be the old Windows system that you couldn't get Windows 10 to run on.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Well, that's where I was kind of leading
horsepower.
to.
Right.
That box that you thought was a dead horse that's sitting over in the corner, it can now have new life.
I've got an old ThinkPad. It's a 2 gig of RAM system. It's a Core Duo.
And
it can't run Windows 8 was dog slow on it. 10 was horrible. It runs Linux fine. It's not the fastest Linux machine I've ever owned, but it runs fine.
This is where I would recommend for folks that want to try to do something. So if you've got your own old, you get your Windows system and you're running that, and you want to play around with Linux like this gentleman does, what I would suggest is, and we've talked about this before, is like a switch box. What you do is you have one keyboard, one mouse, and a monitor all hooked up, and there's a toggle switch that you can hit the button and it will toggle between both computers. You can go be on the Windows machine, or if you want to switch and play around with the Linux machine, boom, you can hit the button, switch over to that, and run one or the other. And not have to have double monitors, double keyboards, and all that taking up your desk space. Literally, the two computers can reside beside each other, and just have that little switch on top of your desktop.
That's right. That'll work just fine. You save yourself a keyboard and a mouse. You still have a computer, of course, a second computer, but you save yourself a keyboard and mouse. And they can both be running simultaneously. You just switch back and forth between whichever one you want to run.
Someone asked, might you be thinking of elementary OS, elementary Linux?
I might be. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I love our listeners.
Love them. Love every one of them. Elementary OS is another one of the. There are so many Linux distributions that are out there, but Elementary is the one I was thinking of, and it looks very much like it's got the dock on the bottom and et cetera, et cetera. It looks very much like a
Windows machine.
No, Macintosh.
Mac. Oh, okay.
Touting their privacy gears.
Yeah, but there are there's a place called DistroWatch, and it lists the various Linux distributions. Distrowatch.com, all one word, of course, and there are hundreds and hundreds of versions out there. Most of them, honestly, are not that different from one another. But for the beginner who is a Windows person, I would say Mint. Linux Mint is probably your best bet to start with. For the beginner who is a Mac person, I would say Elementary OS is probably the place to start. Either one is fine. In fact, the lovely thing about Linux is that all of these are just front ends. So once you get familiar enough with Linux itself, you can change the front end.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to run the GNOME the GNOME front end, but I've switched to XFCE. I have tried Elementary. I have tried Mint. Mint is a whole other distribution, but there are front ends, the Cinnamon front end or the Mate front end, and you can just switch back and forth among them anytime you want, which is kind of a beautiful thing.
And doesn't mess things up.
It doesn't change anything underlying. It's just the same as with Windows.
Yeah.
Windows is really an operating system, and what you think of as Windows is just the graphical front end on top of all of that stuff. And the same thing on the Mac. The Mac underneath is the Mach operating system, and what you think of as the Mac OS is really just a front end on top of the Mach kernel.
And I got. Who was it? Oh, it was Tony.
Yeah, Tony was here. I was just thinking the same thing.
I opened up a terminal window and you can type commands. Because there's a whole command line underneath the GUI. Oh, this is Bash. I know this.
Yeah. So this is Linux. I know this.
Yeah.
This is Unix.
Unix,
The thing from Jurassic Park. But yeah, so we took the machine away from him. I remember you were so angry. You wanted to show us the new operating system. Yep. All we cared about was the underlying Mach kernel. Tony Placilla, my friend Tony. But yeah, there's a bunch of front ends and basically Linux distributions, they're called. And you install them the same way you install anything else. You download the CD, you burn it to a CD or a thumb drive, you boot into that, you can play with it as a live. Most of them have a live mode where you don't have to install it. You can just play with it. Now, be aware that those live modes are very slow, because the operating system is compressed on those CDs or thumb drives, and so every time you run something, it has to unzip it.
Yeah, it's got to unpack.
And so that's slow. Yeah. So, but if you understand that, right, and you're willing to live with that, you can play around with the live version on your current machine without actually installing anything, as long as you don't double click the thing that says install. It doesn't install.
Okay.
Duh. So, you can download most of those distributions and do that with them. Read the instructions carefully, but you can also play particularly if you have a fast enough machine with enough RAM, you can create virtual disks, virtual machines, and play. I've got probably 20 virtual machines on my main desktop box. Obviously I don't run them all at once.
Right.
But each one of them has 2 or 4 gig of RAM. Each one of them has 1 or 2 processors, and they all run just fine.
Cool.
So I can run, 1, maybe 2 at a time, and play around with various things. But there's a bunch of them, and you're not going to like all of them. pfSense, for example, is a security firewall and router distribution. You're not going to want to play with that today. OPNsense is a fork of that one. But there's just a lot of stuff, and there's some things for very small systems like Puppy Linux and Damn Small Linux, and they're designed for machines with a lot less RAM and processor that you can also play with. There are media distributions. We talked about a couple of those already, and there's some pretty cool things. If you're a pen tester, a penetration tester, there's Parrot and a bunch of others. And of course, if you're into the dark web, there's Tails, the Tails OS, and so there's just a bunch of different operating systems that you can download and learn. My courses on Mastermind Lounge are Ubuntu,
okay,
but it doesn't honestly
make much difference.
When I teach the underlying stuff, the command line stuff, that sort of thing, that's pretty much every Linux distribution.
It doesn't matter. It's kind of generic.
Right. The only part that's really Ubuntu specific, well, and I shouldn't say Ubuntu, I should say GNOME specific, is the graphical stuff, where to find things in the menus.
When you say GNOME, all I can think of is that commercial for Travelocity.
With the GNOME in it.
With the GNOME in it, yeah. Now, in Linux,
standing there on the bed.
They pronounce the G because it's GNU Linux.
Mm-hmm.
And they pronounce the G of GNU, GNU.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's GNOME.
Yeah.
Right? So, but yeah, it's it really is an easy... look, we've said this a million times over the decades. Learning a new operating system is like buying a new car. You still know how to drive, you just don't know where the controls are.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of weeks learning the controls, and for those of you who want to learn what happens under the hood and buy yourself a metric wrench set or an imperial wrench set and start playing around with things under the hood, that's command line stuff and all of that. You need to know a little bit of that. You need to know how to, change your oil and check your dipstick and put water in the spritzer and all of that stuff. You need to know at least that much stuff, and that comes from the command line mostly. But the rest of it is just learning where the menus are and where things are in the menu. It's the same. Computers do the same things they've always done. They just do it a tiny little bit differently.
Yeah.
And
there's so many new languages to learn. I remember when I was taking programming classes 20 years ago, we looked at C as a language that might be used someday in the future.
Whoops.
So we learned Pascal and Fortran and COBOL and PL1. And
same here.
Listen, the truth is, if you want to get a job if you want to be guaranteed a job in the computing world, Fortran and COBOL are the languages
and PL1.
you learn. PL1, you'll never be a superstar, but somebody is always hiring.
They got old code that needs worked on,
and they're not changing it for whatever reason.
Nope. Well, they're so embedded.
It works. It works. Why not just keep running it? It's like him with his Windows 3 machine that he's.
My Windows 7 machine.
I'm still using Edlin. Get off my lawn.
Yeah. Hey, that always worked good. I got pretty darn proficient at Edlin.
Yeah. You and me and everybody else.
I mean, there were so many different other utilities that you could use along with Edlin to see everything on the screen.
Yep.
And then it would re-scroll, blank your screen out, and then you'd see the different lines, make a change, boom, go back in. But it was cumbersome but fun.
Yep. And so there's bunches of places you can learn to program in Linux, and it's a worthwhile thing to do, I honestly believe. We're going to take a quick break. Back in just a couple of minutes with Dave Enright, Steve Ray, me, Nick Francesco, and you. It's 29 minutes after the hour. It's Soundbites. It's member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Before you call into our show, please make note of the following rules. 1, turn your radio down. 2, turn your radio down lower. 3, remember, nobody has invented a good-sounding speakerphone yet. Don't use them. 4, make sure you have a point. It makes for a more interesting show. 5, calling does not guarantee you'll get on the air. No whining. 6, if you do get on the air, please do not tell the host what you just told the screener. We don't care. And 7, is that radio turned down yet? We hope this will make for a more enjoyable program, and we thank you for your time.
Online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at soundbites.org. More with Nick Francesco, Dave Enright, and Steve Ray next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Official WGMC contest rules are available online at www.jazz901.org.
I spend a lot of time in the garage, but even more time in the rain, sleet, and mud. In '95, I helped tow your moving trailer. In '05, I helped you get out of a ditch. Yeah, I know I'm a bit rusty, and sadly in '09, it was sparks from me, your handy chains, dragging behind your truck that accidentally started a wildfire.
Sparks from dragging chains can start a wildfire. Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Make a day with the Jazz 90.1 Enhanced Member Card and enjoy 2-for-1 savings all day long. When you make a gift of $90.10 or more, we'll send you a Jazz 90.1 member card. Then enjoy savings at restaurants, cultural and family attractions, bed and breakfast, wineries, lodging, and more. When you use your Jazz 90.1 member card just a few times, it pays for itself. You can even use the convenient member card app to find benefits near you. Call 966-5299 right now or visit jazz901.org. Grab some savings and have some fun with your Jazz 90.1 Enhanced Member Card.
Dreaming of becoming a professional race car driver? Speeding around empty parking lots is a start, but going pro takes time. So does quitting smoking. It's not about stopping in one day. It's about starting with day one. You just need to take that first step. Get started on your journey toward a smoke-free life with the American Cancer Society. We'll give you the support and resources you need to quit smoking. The finish line is closer than you think. Learn more at cancer.org/smokeout.
Jazz 90.1 is supported in part by our members and by Greece Athena High School Music Theater, presenting Mamma Mia on stage at the Greece Central Performing Arts Center. Performances take place Friday, February 1st and 8th at 7 p.m., Saturday, February 2nd and 9th at 7 p.m., and Sunday, February 3rd and 10th at 2 p.m. Tickets are available at Wegmans or online at showtixforyou.com. And tickets can also be purchased at the door. For more information, you may visit greececsd.org.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Hey, Kevin, thinking about saving for retirement?
Yeah, but how do I start?
It's easy with Avo, a retirement coach. Let's learn the Avo bet. A is for taking action.
Not anxiety?
No, Kevin, you're gonna be fine.
You sing?
Barely. V is for variety.
Huh. Change up my strategy. Okay.
O's for optimize your savings.
Let Avo lead the way.
Visit aceyourretirement.org today. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
What is us?
Us is a foundation.
Us is the future.
Us is a bond.
But right now, that bond is fraying.
And we need a place that could make it whole.
From diabetes prevention to safety around water.
The Y fills the gaps.
And bridges our divides.
But they can't do it without us.
Support your local Y today. Because where there's a Y, there's an us.
Read by members of the Y.
The Y, for a better us.
Jazz 90.1 weather.
A perfect day for outdoor winter activities across Rochester, Western New York, and the Finger Lakes, albeit very cold to start. Temperatures will make a significant recovery this afternoon, topping out in the mid-30s. A little bit of sun early on will give way to increasing clouds and a stiffening breeze. Tonight looks mostly cloudy, the overnight low in the upper 20s. Tomorrow, breezy, milder. The high temperature in the mid-40s. Could see a little light wintry mix and then a few showers early in the day. I'm meteorologist Josh Nichols for Jazz 90.1.
Okay, folks, get the shorts out because it's maybe overcast, but it's 35 degrees out at the airport and 36 here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Hello, this is Paul Conley. Join me early on Monday mornings from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 36 minutes after the hour, we are Sound Bytes. Woohoo! Oh, this is a pretty cool thing. If you're one of those people who has unlimited data plans, this is a good thing. The Chrome OS Instant Tethering is very handy if you need to keep your Chromebook online, even if you're not in a place where there's Wi-Fi. But there is a major gotcha involved. You need a Nexus or Pixel phone for that automatic hotspot to work. You win.
Woo!
You can turn on instant tethering, and every time you open your Chromebook, it'll look for your phone. If it doesn't have a wireless signal, it'll look for your phone and tether through that. So if you've got unlimited data,
I do.
You're on.
That means my Chromebook's going to work with me.
That's exactly what it means. Things appear to be loosening up, however. Numerous users have reported that their beta and dev channel versions of Chrome OS now support instant tethering with non-Google smartphones. It's not clear how many devices are compatible, but readers have had success on the various forums with... they're not really readers, they're posters. On the various forums with multiple OnePlus and Samsung models. The barriers to using the feature aren't especially high. Google officially requires Chrome OS 70, which is not new. Android 7.1, not new. A data plan with tethering support, that's on you. And Verizon has that by law. And the same Google account on both devices. Well, duh. That could change with third-party phones in the mix, but it's a positive sign. This doesn't appear to be universally available. You might need to enable a flag to make it work. You're also unlikely to see this reach a stable version of Chrome OS for a while. Nonetheless, it could be a big deal if you like the thought of an always connected Chromebook and would rather not jump through hoops just to stay online. So how do you get online with your Chromebook? Give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ. It's 966-5299. Toll free 1-800-790-0415.
Yeah, it's right. Just so easy right there off the main.
It's right there, instant tethering.
Yeah.
Turn it on, you're done.
Hotspot or tethering. Just turn it on.
Just turn it on, you're done. Go open your Chromebook, and I think the first time you do that, it'll come back and say,
the
is
network
this right?
Yeah, connection.
Is this you? Prove it. Boom, you put in the number or whatever.
That would be perfect because, of course, where I work, they've got it blocked for the business, and I thoroughly understand.
I get that, absolutely.
Yeah, no problem. But during my breaks and all that, I'd like to be able to go on the internet and do this, look stuff up or anything else.
Sure.
And I can do it on my own private. That way I'm not interfering with company business or anything else. Ooh.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You can tether your phone. And again, it's going to use your data. But if you've got unlimited data...
You can too. With your...
Right. If you've got unlimited data, that's not a problem. And so many people, I don't, but so many people have unlimited data these days.
Well, I wound up getting into the seniors. Verizon offered the seniors package.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And I got into that, and
I may be old enough for that now. Well, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Save a few bucks there.
Oh, yeah, it was nice. And I mean, plus now that the phone's paid for it, dropped my bill that much more.
Right.
And my Google phone is still working fine, thank you.
Yep.
And should for another
you're going to get at least this year, you'll get more, you'll get updates this year.
And again, so even after, I mean, for the most part, I use it just as a phone.
Right, that's right.
That maybe texting.
Well, some people's personal sense of worth is tied up in how wonderful their phone is. For the rest of us who actually have lives...
Yeah, I was going to say, get a life.
The phone that just does what you need it to do when you need it to do it is perfectly fine. But the ability to, what people say to me all the time is, I have to have wireless.
Yeah, and do the FaceTiming and all this other stuff.
If you're going to do, do you have a laptop that doesn't require wireless? Well, I can write my stuff. Well, you can write your stuff on I've been on Chromebooks that were disconnected, and I spent hours writing stuff. But if you can tether it with your phone, and you're paying for the unlimited data anyway, why not? And then there you are online. Yes, it's not as fast.
I got to try that out this afternoon.
Yeah, you got to see this.
Oh, no, I got to...
Tell Sandy I'm so sorry.
No.
I'm so sorry.
No, this will be a good thing. She'll be glad.
Will she?
Oh, yeah. Because, I'll explain offline.
Get the hell out of the house, Dave.
No.
Take your Chromebook with you.
No, I got to take her somewheres, and I got to wait in the car.
Oh, there you go.
So while I'm waiting in the car, I can be on my laptop.
Just make sure your phone and your laptop are charged.
I got chargers right there in the phone.
There you go. There in the car, you mean?
Yeah, in the car.
There you go.
My phone, because the Chromebook is always on the charger. I leave that.
Right.
And then that can be your GPS because it's a bigger screen. Yeah. There you go.
That's true.
Justified.
They're justified.
The only thing I was disappointed is there's a couple programs, and I know it's just a matter of time that won't run as far as for my ham apps.
Oh yeah. Specialized programs are a problem. Always will be.
And they're coming around.
See,
there's a couple of them that you can do over the Android system. So. Like anything else, it's still in the infancy stage, but it's going leaps and bounds because it's just the way it is.
Right. Well, I had, as I said a few weeks ago, a friend of mine called me over. He couldn't get his new printer to talk to his Chrome box, but the Chrome box does Android apps, and there was an Android app to do it. He could talk to it. He could print to it. What he couldn't do was scan from it.
Yeah, that's one thing I had.
Well, the app does the scanning, so done.
Yeah. Well, I've got one because I've got a wireless printer downstairs.
Yeah.
And both of us can print to it. I can print it off my Chromebook and that. But upstairs, for the computer up there, because I'm running wireless, it can't find the darn wireless printer. And I think because the house, we got dead spots.
Oh, yes.
Because,
Sure.
being a Faraday cage,
Sure.
I mean, I can walk from my living room over to be in the computer room, and folks can't hear me. I walk out to the kitchen, all of a sudden they can hear me clear as day.
Yep, on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that's the nature of wireless.
Yeah.
If there's anything metal between you and the tower or you and your router, it's going to block the signal. That's just the way the world works.
Yeah.
I have dead spots in my house. My house was built in the 1800s. There's chicken wire in the walls and all that.
That's
all
what's
stuff.
nice.
And so
lath and plaster with chicken wire.
Yep. There's just places where there ain't no signal.
Yep.
Ain't gonna be no signal.
Well, that's why I put the repeater, the booster upstairs.
Right. That's what a mesh network is for.
Boost the signal up there, and I mean, I get good wireless internet. No problem upstairs. I mean, I got 4 bars easily upstairs, and it's no big deal.
Yeah, that's what the caller earlier was saying, that Ethernet is better.
Right.
Don't worry about dead spots. Just got to drag a wire around behind you.
Right. Yeah. Wires are better and wires are faster. You
Yeah.
know, you're generally going to have somewhere between, depending on your wireless connection, 25 megabits to 480 megabits. Whereas wired, I get gigabit. So over twice as fast. And if I'm watching video, I might prefer to have something twice as fast for video. But for audio, it doesn't matter. Even the 24 megabits for the old router was fine. But you want to be aware that there's more than just I bought a router and plugged it in.
Well, see, a number of these programs, even though we've got, I've got the fast internet, some of these programs, whether it's packet or whatever, run at a slower baud rate. Even though you got the faster. So, I mean, most of them, 56K modems, you could use those and it'll run. You get up to the other bands and it's down to 300 baud because you're using a lot less power and the speeds are a lot slower, but...
Well, and the thing that people have to remember about any Ethernet connection is that you have a maximum of 100 devices before the interference, the collisions become so great that you really start losing speed.
And that,
now, or perceived speed.
Yep.
And we're almost approaching that limit these days.
In school rooms.
Well, even in your house, mom, dad, and the 3 kids. You've got the phone and the tablet and the computer. The security cameras, the smart lights, the TVs, the
Roku boxes,
the thermostats. It's not unusual to have 50 devices on your network.
When I am home alone, there are 14 devices on my network. When Elaine comes home, it gets significantly higher. And when my daughter was home, I was thinking that's a lot of devices.
I was gonna say, did you max out?
I did not max out. I did not hit my 100. But you can have 200. Let me clarify. You can have 255 devices on any Ethernet connection on any router, whatever. But when you start getting over 100, the traffic is generally such that they collide with each other and they have to resend, which slows your apparent speed. All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Larry from Penfield, New York. Hi, Larry. What's up?
Hi, guys. I just heard you talk about an app for scanning from your Chromebook when you can't connect otherwise.
Yes.
And I didn't catch the name of the app.
Well, it depends on what model of printer you have. It's the, generally speaking, on the newer Chromebooks and Chromeboxes, et cetera, you can run Android apps.
Right.
And the Android operating system in the Google Play Store, which is there's the web store for the Chromebook itself, and then there's the Play Store for Android apps, which is what you see on your phone. And also, if you have the newer type of machine that will run Android apps, you'll see that on your Chromebook. And in there, you would search for, in his case, it was in, I think, HP model something. And so I searched for HP model something, and there was the Android app. So I installed that, and it did scanning for him. So you search for your printer.
Oh, okay.
Specifically your printer. So it wasn't just HP printer or HP ScanJet or whatever it was called. It was, the HP ScanJet J43 left elbow.
All righty, great.
I
had that identical problem.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go. And that it works, and then it scans to your Chromebook or Chromebox or Chrome whatever, just the way it would scan to your phone.
And
right,
many,
it's on on your phone.
Yeah, many of the bigger printers, HP, Epson, will have Android and iOS apps for your devices. So the trick is you need a new enough Chromebook to support Android devices.
Well, I have that now. I just have to see if my brother computer or printer is supported by an app.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah, I suspect it is. They're all very good. Brother is a big company. They certainly have apps. I'm sure they have one for your particular printer. So just look that up, install it on your Chromebook, and you should be on your way. Yeah, and now you have to connect it just the way you would connect any Android app, right? It searches the network and yada yada. So it's going to do all of that stuff just as it would from your phone, and when you're done, you're connected.
Great. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Have a good day.
You're welcome. Have fun. I love answering questions people hadn't asked yet.
Yeah.
A lot of people will just use your smartphone camera to scan a document by taking a picture of it.
And it works.
Yeah.
It's not optimal.
It can be tricky getting it lighted properly and getting it straight.
No shadows.
Yeah.
You're not leaning over. Yeah.
But it works if you know what you're doing, and it works okay. But why not use the device you bought specifically to do that and make it work correctly? The versatility of Chromebooks these days continues to amaze me. I was editing some audio the other day. I prefer Audacity, but I was using an online product that I know works. And I was editing audio the other day, and a friend of mine was editing video, and I was printing, and I was doing all this other stuff, and I thought, yeah, there really is nothing I'm blocked from doing on a Chromebook.
Yeah.
Yes, there are things I prefer doing on my desktop. Just bigger monitor. I've got the ergonomic keyboard so my carpal tunnel doesn't hurt. And I've got some apps that I've been using for 20 years, and so I'm really used to them. But I can do everything on the Chromebook. And that's a big and fairly important thing to note. It's like we said about learning Linux. I've got Chromebook classes up on Mastermind Lounge too, for that matter. But the point here is that learning to use these things is not difficult. Actually using them is not difficult. Learning a new operating system is not difficult. It can be tedious, depending on how much time and effort you're willing to put into it. It can be a short or a long process. But the reality is that you're not stuck with anything. You're not stuck with Windows. You're not stuck with a Mac. You're not stuck with a Chromebook. You're not stuck with Linux. You can move around among them, assuming you can afford the hardware and in some cases the software, to your heart's content, and learn multiple operating systems or switch your operating system. And you're not stuck where you started. All you have to do is put in just a tiny little bit of effort. And it seems that you'll be able to do whatever you want to do.
Play around and have your heart's content.
Yep.
But people don't think they can learn anything new.
Right.
And we always hear, I don't know anything about computers, and I'm not a very technical person. But you can learn new tricks.
It's
doesn't
not that they
old
can't. It does. Do they want to?
I read the best story the other day. On the front of modems, there's lights.
Yeah.
And the tech support guy asked the customer what color the light was. And, is it yellow or is it green? He said, I don't know anything about computers.
Yeah, well, they get very defensive.
And the thing about it is,
yes, you do. You can learn a little bit.
You can learn.
You do know a lot. You use a lot on that computer.
You do. But if when people say I can't learn a new operating system, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're right. You can't because you think you can't. You've decided you can't, and that decision is powerful.
Oh, well, I have some folks. Because I'm in charge now of the tablet training.
Right.
Just teaching people how to use this one program on a tablet. And the number of times that some folks can mess it up. And it's very simple.
Well, that's on purpose. They don't want to learn it because they don't want to learn something.
Well, I had one that was saying her nails were too long.
Yeah.
So what I did is I happened to have a pen.
Yep.
That was, a stylus. I gave it to her. Best thing since sliced bread.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is so much easier now. Yeah. And all her issues went away.
There's a guy at Market who has a device, a program on his phone that does stuff for his business.
Mm-hmm.
And he was complaining that he's got hands the size of hams. And his fingers are just enormous. and the program that was written for them is a little tiny, and he's got a small phone.
Mm.
So he said, I can't run this. I'm always hitting 2 or 3 buttons. It's horrible. So I gave him, I have a little stylus pen, and I gave it to him, and I thought he was going to cry.
Yeah.
He said it was the best thing he's ever seen. It works great. And so I next week I sent in with Elaine. I sent about a dozen of them in. I said, here, you're going to lose that pen. You know you're going to lose that pen.
You gotta send them,
here's another dozen. Knock yourself out.
You got to send them the pocket protector.
Yeah.
And a ruler and a compass and a
slip stick. Don't forget.
White tape.
And a little white tape on your glasses.
Around the glasses.
Yep. Yeah. Uh-oh. Well, that's it. Yes, that music tells me that we're done for another week. I want to thank Dave Enright, and so I will. Thank you, Dave Enright. Thank you, Steve Ray.
But you didn't want to.
Whether I want to or not, I have thanked you. I was trying to be polite about it, but I guess I'm done now.
Yeah.
I'm Nick Francesco. I want to thank everybody who called in. Thank you so much. I want to apologize to everybody to whom we did not get. Got to call in earlier. I want to thank everybody who is a member of this station for keeping us on the air. We will be back next week. Don't go away. George is coming in to play the best German music you'll hear all week. Michael's here to keep him on the straight and narrow, and we'll be back with a whole lot more of the longest-running computer show in the known universe. Soundbites on member-supported Jazz 90.1. We will see you in 166 hours.
A vehicle is stolen once every 40 seconds in the United States. The cost adds up to over $6 billion a year.